What's up, guys? This is another episode of the Speak Easies, and in today's episode,
Before we try to change the world, we gotta make our beds.
discipline equals freedom, okay?
I know we all get to those points where our lives just fall apart.
Alright, guys, welcome to another episode of the Speak Easies. I'm Polo, here with Cade and Grady, and today I wanted to discuss listener suggested topic today of what is the most important trait to cultivate for all of us. Now, for me, this has been a topic that's very personal. For the last couple of years, I've been looking at how I can improve myself, be more productive, efficient, smarter, more knowledgeable. Yeah, just better, a better human. Yeah. So, from all these different places that I've searched, I've found
Betterer.
that the most important trait to cultivate is discipline. All right. Now, the most direct quote I can find, well, the most applicable quote I can find in the most dependable source for this is, well, I found most of this from a book called Tools of Titans. If you guys haven't read it, highly recommend. Will make your life better tenfold, if not more. Now, a section that I found this from was from an interview with Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL and a Navy SEAL commander. Now, he has a podcast of his own and discusses this many times. He says that discipline equals freedom, okay? Now, I'm not going to read to you the passage in which he explains this, but basically, if we can have discipline in our own lives, we will enjoy the freedom of having choice to do things and having control over our own lives and not being controlled by other factors such as temptation or peer pressure. If we can discipline ourselves to do what we want and not what we feel, our lives will definitely be better. Now, for the students out there, for example, discipline can be applied to your student lives, of course, through like coursework, right? You get home, make sure you discipline yourself to do your work, get the proper amount of food in, sleep at the right time, study correctly, and you'll be a successful student, you know? And then you can apply this to adulthood, of course. So discipline yourselves to eat healthy, not be like, oh, you know what, I can eat a donut today, or I can eat some ice cream tonight for dessert. Discipline yourselves to eat correctly and act properly.
You know, if I may interject right here, what you're talking about really sort of reminds me of the Bushido, or the Code of the Samurai, it was written by, I don't remember exactly who it was written by off the top of my head, but it was written I believe it was in medieval Japan, of course, when the samurai were prevalent, and a lot of what it talks about is discipline and, not doing things in excess. A samurai could have luxuries and like do enjoyable things, but not in excess. And it was about disciplining yourself. And I know it's for samurai, and obviously there aren't really samurai anymore, but it is something that can still be applied to life today. And I read it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot you can take away from it. But discipline is definitely one of the key parts of that. And I think along with discipline, maybe this naturally comes with discipline, but motivation, I think those two go really well hand in hand, because you have a goal and you have a reason to be, curbing your actions so that you can achieve whatever your goal is.
You know, I was going to mention this a couple minutes ago. Discipline is all well and good. I'm not going to knock discipline, but saying that it's the most important, I'm not sure about. I mean, Grady mentioned motivation, which is, I guess, if we think about it, really is the path to discipline. You can't be you can't have discipline unless you're motivated to have discipline. You can't really have anything unless you're motivated to have something. But I want to bring up something that has helped me a lot in my life and has been the one trait I think that my parents wanted to cultivate in me when they were raising me, and that is perseverance and determination. When I know we all get to those points where our lives just fall apart in some way. Maybe you procrastinate on some huge project or something, or you just don't work out for like 10 years or something. But what like I guess if we start at motivation, you get motivated to make a change in your life, but you need perseverance and determination to actually make that change. Let's say the change is to actually become more disciplined. I've been trying to do that. I've been thinking, you know what, I'm going to read
Yes.
before I go to bed
Yeah.
tonight instead of
I
going
think,
on YouTube and watching
not to
Vine
go off into
compilations. But I
another
need perseverance
branch
to do
here,
something
but I
like
think
that,
for me personally, if I
right?
were to pick two of the most important traits to cultivate, would be I'm leaving motivation out of this because, like Cade said, that sort of goes with anything. So, assuming you have motivation, I would say that it's discipline and responsibility. Because, you know, if you make a mistake, it's important that you take responsibility for that. If it's not your fault, of course, don't put things on you that aren't your fault, of course. But if you do make a mistake and it's something you could have avoided, it's important that you face your mistakes. I think that helps build a strong personality.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And now that you mention responsibility, I want to bring up something else that Jocko Willink brought up and mentions a lot in his own podcast. And his extreme ownership is also a very good trait to build up. I think also back to that responsibility. Now you said you actually mentioned how if you don't think something is your own fault, you don't have to stress about it. But then what Jocko says is actually you should take everything that happens to you that is bad
Mm-hmm.
and take ownership of that, and that will help you become more disciplined and become more uh, a better leader, a better human, a better addition to society.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to look into. I'm not saying that everyone should try to have extreme ownership. Well, maybe you won't want to look into it, but I think that's a point to look into. And to bring up what Cade said about perseverance, I think part of perseverance is actually discipline also, because I would say that you need discipline to tell yourself to keep working towards your own goal and to keep on track and stay focused on what you're trying to achieve in life, or let's say a project or homework or whatever. I think you need discipline to have perseverance is what I'm saying.
I I I can get on board with that. I think the point that we're all getting to and talking about motivation and responsibility and perseverance and discipline is that the most important trait to cultivate in all of us is not, I guess, I don't think we'll ever come to a definitive this is the trait that people need to have, but I think that a good candidate would be the things we've mentioned because that they are a path to a better life. Discipline is the path to getting your
Yeah.
life together and becoming successful, but you can't do that without
You know
perseverance
what's
and
interesting
motivation. You know what I'm
is
saying? It's a path to
I'm
cultivating
currently in the
other
middle
traits
of
and is
a book
essential
by
in that
Dr.
way.
Jordan Peterson called 12 Rules to Life, where I've talked about this in the first episode I think we had. I talked about Jordan Peterson. But one of the things he talks about is, if you don't know, he's a clinical psychologist. And so he's talked to patients about living a better life. And one of the first things he tells his patients to do if they are dealing with depression or something like that is he says, wake up at a regular schedule. So if you want to like wake up at 6:30, always wake up at 6:30. Don't wake up at 6:30 some days and then 10:30 the other days or whatever. And to eat a high fat, high protein diet, because that just helps your body, and it prevents mood swings and stuff like that. And I think that's really well related to discipline, because regulating the what you eat and how you sleep, that's a pretty disciplinary actions right there. So that's what I thought of when you started talking about discipline. That's another thing that came to my mind. I mean, that's just another aspect of it. I think there are exactly.
Yeah. Now, when we're talking about the most
Again,
important trait to cultivate for everyone,
it's a
of course
path
that
to a better life.
doesn't apply. I mean, if you want to improve your own life, of course there's going to be different aspects in which you want to improve. Maybe you want to be more assertive or you want to be more friendly towards people, but I think in the hierarchy of traits, in order to do those, you need to have discipline to make that change. Like you said, Cade, before, about having change.
And I mean, I've said it twice so far, and I'll say it once more. It's that path to bettering yourself and bettering others and bettering society
to relate what you
around
just
you.
said,
And with that, I think we're coming
the
to the
only
end of
way
time. Is
that
anybody
we
have
can
anything final
change
they'd like to say?
the world is if we first change ourselves, right? Before we
Yeah, definitely.
before we try to change the world, we gotta make our beds and we gotta clean our rooms.
Special thanks to Leslie Cheng for her topic suggestion.
Yeah, that's the second one she's suggested. And we'd really like if we didn't have to keep going through all these things that one person or two people have suggested. So we'd really, really appreciate if you guys would DM us on Instagram or leave comments on some of our videos, suggestions for topics that you want to hear. And with that we gotta close this one. And thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Drop us a good review on iTunes or Podbean. Tell your friends, and we'll see you in the next one, guys.